Shalom, I am Rabbi Ezra. Most people view eating as a purely physical act. You are hungry, you consume food, and you move on with your day. But in the ancient Jewish tradition, eating is one of the most profound spiritual and financial acts a human being can perform. The way you approach your food, specifically the 60 seconds before you take your first bite, determines the flow of abundance into your life. Today, I am going to reveal why the Jewish practice of reciting a specific blessing before eating is not just a religious ritual, but a powerful mechanism for altering your financial reality. This is an information-driven exploration of how intention, gratitude, and the recognition of divine source create the physical vessels necessary to hold immense wealth. To understand this, we must turn to the Talmud, specifically Tractate Barachot 35. The sages state unequivocally that it is forbidden for a person to derive benefit from this world without first reciting a blessing. The Talmud goes so far as to say that anyone who enjoys the pleasures of this world without a blessing is considered to have stolen from God. This is a striking statement. Why is it considered theft? Because the physical world, including the food we eat, is infused with divine energy. When you consume food without acknowledging its source, you are taking the physical matter but ignoring the spiritual essence that sustains it. You are treating the universe as a vending machine rather than a relationship. The blessing, the baracha, is the act of recognition that transforms consumption into connection. And for those who are truly serious about accelerating their journey, for a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is where I unveil the complete Torah wealth system. It is the full architecture of ancient wisdom applied to modern financial transformation. The doors are closing soon, so check the link in the comments. The 60-second prayer before breakfast is not about asking for more, it is about creating the capacity to receive more. In Kabbalistic thought, there is a fundamental principle: the light is always shining, but we must build the vessels to contain it. Abundance is constantly flowing from the Creator, but if our spiritual vessels are small, cracked, or non-existent, that abundance cannot manifest in our physical reality. The act of pausing before you eat, focusing your mind, and reciting a blessing is the act of building a vessel. You are taking a mundane physical necessity and elevating it to a spiritual action. You are declaring that you understand that your sustenance does not come merely from your paycheck, your employer, or the grocery store, but from the ultimate source of all wealth. This shift in consciousness is the prerequisite for financial expansion. Let us examine the mechanics of the blessing itself. In the Jewish tradition, there are 6 primary categories of blessings for food, depending on what is being eaten. There is a specific blessing for bread, for wine, for fruits of the tree, for vegetables of the earth, for grain products, and a general blessing for everything else. This categorization is not arbitrary. It forces the individual to pause and specifically identify what they are about to consume. You cannot simply mumble a generic thanks. You must look at the apple and recognize it as a fruit of the tree, or look at the water and recognize that all things exist by His word. This required specificity demands mindfulness. It forces you to be present in the moment, to break the cycle of mindless consumption. This mindfulness is a critical financial skill. Wealth is built by those who are acutely aware of their resources, their actions, and their environment. The discipline of the blessing trains your mind to be present and observant, qualities that are essential for identifying and capitalizing on financial opportunities. Furthermore, the practice of the blessing has profound physiological effects that directly impact your capacity to generate wealth. Modern scientific research on mindful eating and gratitude has demonstrated that pausing to express thanks before a meal significantly reduces the levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone, in the body. When you are stressed, your body enters a fight-or-flight state. In this state, your digestive system shuts down, your cognitive function narrows, and your ability to make long-term strategic decisions is severely impaired. You cannot build wealth when your nervous system is in survival mode. The 60-second prayer acts as a neurological reset. It signals to your body that you are safe, that you are provided for, and that you can relax. This physiological shift allows for better digestion, clearer thinking, and a more expansive perspective. You return to your work not just physically nourished, but mentally and neurologically optimized for success. The Talmud in Tractate Berehot 54 discusses the concept of gratitude in depth, noting that there are 4 types of people who must offer a special prayer of thanksgiving: one who has crossed the sea, one who has crossed the desert, one who has recovered from a serious illness, and one who has been released from prison. The common thread among these 4 is that they have survived a life-threatening situation and have been granted a new lease on life. The sages teach that every time we eat, we are essentially experiencing a micro-version of this salvation. Without food, we perish. Every meal is a renewal of our existence. When you approach your breakfast with this level of profound gratitude, recognizing it as a life-sustaining gift rather than an entitlement, you fundamentally alter your relationship with the material world. You move from a mindset of scarcity and expectation to a mindset of abundance and appreciation. This mindset shift is the core of the financial transformation. When you believe that you are entitled to your wealth, you become arrogant and careless. You take your resources for granted, and you fail to recognize the divine assistance that makes your success possible. This arrogance, as the Torah warns repeatedly, is the precursor to financial ruin. However, when you cultivate a deep, consistent practice of gratitude through the 60-second prayer, you remain humble. You recognize that your wealth is a trust, a responsibility granted to you by the Creator. This humility makes you a better steward of your resources. You make more careful investments. You treat your employees and partners with greater respect, and you are more inclined to give tzedakah, charity, which is the ultimate catalyst for further wealth. The blessing before food is the daily training ground for this wealth-sustaining humility. Consider the alternative: the person who grabs a pastry on the way out the door, eating it mindlessly while scrolling through stressful emails, is starting their day in a state of deficit. They are consuming calories, but they are starving their soul. They are reinforcing the belief that they are a machine running on fuel, rather than a spiritual being engaged in a divine partnership. This person will spend their day chasing money out of fear and anxiety. They will make reactive decisions based on short-term pressures rather than long-term vision. They may accumulate cash, but they will never experience true wealth, which is the combination of financial abundance and profound peace of mind. The 60-second prayer is the antidote to this modern disease of mindless, anxious consumption. To implement this practice, you do not need to learn Hebrew or adopt a complex religious liturgy. The essence of the practice is the pause and the intention. Tomorrow morning, before you take your first bite of breakfast or your first sip of coffee, stop. Put the food down. Take a deep breath. Acknowledge the source of the food. You can say a simple phrase: "Thank you, Creator of the universe, for providing this sustenance." Or if you wish to use the traditional Jewish formula for general foods, you can say, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, by whose word all things come to be." The specific words are less important than the intention behind them. The goal is to break the automatic cycle of consumption and insert a moment of conscious gratitude. This practice must be consistent. It is not enough to do it only when you are eating a lavish meal or when you happen to remember. The power of the blessing lies in its repetition. Every time you eat or drink, you have an opportunity to build a spiritual vessel. If you eat 3 meals a day and have a few snacks or coffees, that is 5 or 6 opportunities every single day to align your mind with the frequency of abundance. Over a week, a month, a year, this consistent practice rewires your brain. It trains you to see the divine hand in every aspect of your life, from the simplest glass of water to the most complex business deal. This constant recognition of the source is what opens the floodgates of blessing. But before you go, I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking that a 60-second prayer cannot possibly impact your bank account. You believe that wealth is purely a matter of market forces, hard work, and financial strategy. You think that spiritual practices are nice for personal peace, but irrelevant to the harsh realities of business. This is a profound error in understanding how the universe operates. The physical world is not separate from the spiritual world. It is a manifestation of it. Your financial reality is a direct reflection of your spiritual capacity. If you are closed off to gratitude, if you refuse to acknowledge the source of your sustenance, you are pinching the hose of abundance. You may still get some water, but you will never experience the full flow. The 60-second prayer is the practice of opening the valve. It is the alignment of your physical actions with spiritual truth, and that alignment is the ultimate financial strategy. Furthermore, some may argue that they are already grateful people, so they do not need a formal ritual before eating. They feel gratitude in their hearts, and they believe that is sufficient. The Jewish tradition disagrees. While internal feeling is important, it must be articulated in the physical world to have full impact. The act of speaking the words of blessing brings the spiritual intention into physical reality. It engages your vocal cords, your hearing, and your physical presence. It makes the gratitude concrete. Wealth is a physical manifestation, and it requires physical actions to sustain it. The spoken blessing is the bridge between the feeling of gratitude in your heart and the manifestation of abundance in your life. Do not rely on vague feeling. Commit to the concrete action of the spoken word. The 60-second prayer before breakfast is a small action with massive consequences. It is a daily declaration of your partnership with the Creator. It is a rejection of arrogance and an embrace of humility. It is a neurological reset that prepares you for optimal decision-making. And most importantly, it is the construction of the spiritual vessels necessary to hold the wealth you are destined to create. Do not underestimate the power of this ancient practice. Start tomorrow morning. Pause, acknowledge, and bless. Watch how this simple shift in consciousness begins to alter your financial reality. To fully grasp the depth of this practice, we must look at the Kabbalistic concept of Birur Nitzotzot, the elevation of the sparks. The great mystic Rabbi Isaac Luria taught that when the universe was created, vessels of divine light shattered, and sparks of holiness fell into the physical world, becoming embedded in all matter, including the food we eat. When a person consumes food simply to satisfy their physical hunger, those sparks remain trapped. The food provides temporary physical energy, but the spiritual potential is wasted. However, when a person recites a blessing before eating, they perform a spiritual extraction. The intention and the holy words elevate the divine sparks hidden within the food, returning them to their source. This act of elevation transforms the physical act of eating into a cosmic repair. When you engage in this level of spiritual work, you align yourself with the fundamental purpose of creation. The universe responds to this alignment by opening channels of abundance, because you have proven that you know how to handle physical resources in a way that elevates them rather than degrades them. This concept directly translates to how you handle money. Money, like food, is a physical resource that contains immense potential energy. If you treat money merely as a tool for personal gratification, you trap its potential. You may accumulate it, but it will not bring you lasting fulfillment or true wealth. But if you approach your finances with the same intention and gratitude that you bring to your food, you elevate your wealth. You use it to support your family, to build ethical businesses, and to give tzedakah. The 60-second prayer trains you in the art of elevation. It teaches you to look at a piece of bread and see divine potential. When you master this skill at the breakfast table, you will naturally apply it to your bank account, your investments, and your business negotiations. You will become a master of elevating physical resources, which is the ultimate definition of a Torah millionaire. Furthermore, the blessing serves as a powerful boundary against the destructive force of greed. The human appetite, whether for food or for money, is naturally insatiable. The Talmud observes that he who has 100 wants 200. If left unchecked, this appetite leads to overconsumption, unethical business practices, and a constant state of dissatisfaction. The blessing introduces a necessary pause, a boundary between the desire and the consumption. It forces you to stop and acknowledge that the resource you are about to consume is not yours by right, but by grace. This pause breaks the momentum of greed. It inserts a moment of rational, spiritual thought into an otherwise instinctual process. By practicing this boundary with your food every single day, you build the self-control necessary to manage large sums of money without being corrupted by them. You learn to consume with intention rather than compulsion. Let me share a brief illustration of this principle in action. Consider a highly successful real estate developer who handles multi-million-dollar transactions daily. Despite the high stakes and the constant pressure to maximize profits at any cost, he maintains a reputation for absolute integrity and remarkable calm. His secret is not a complex financial algorithm, it is his strict adherence to the laws of blessings. Before he drinks a glass of water during a tense negotiation, he pauses, closes his eyes for a moment, and recites the blessing. In that brief pause, he reconnects with the source. He reminds himself that the deal on the table is not the ultimate source of his security. This practice grounds him. It prevents him from making desperate, greedy decisions. His partners and competitors sense this groundedness, which builds immense trust and ultimately leads to more lucrative opportunities. His 60-second prayer is the anchor that keeps his financial ship steady in the stormiest markets. The practice of the blessing also connects you to the broader community and the chain of human effort. When you hold a piece of bread and prepare to bless it, you are holding the result of countless human actions. Someone planted the seed, someone harvested the wheat, someone milled the flour, someone baked the bread, and someone transported it to you. The blessing is an acknowledgement of this vast, interconnected web of histadlut, human effort, that God uses to deliver your sustenance. This awareness fosters a deep sense of connection and responsibility. It reminds you that your wealth is never created in a vacuum. You rely on employees, partners, clients, and the broader economic system. When you cultivate this awareness through the daily blessing, you become a more collaborative and ethical business person. You understand that true wealth is built through mutual benefit and shared success, not through exploitation. This is why the 60-second prayer is not a religious relic. It is a highly advanced financial technology. It is a daily protocol for rewiring your brain, regulating your nervous system, elevating your physical resources, and cultivating the humility and self-control necessary for massive success. It is the ultimate preparation for the business day. You cannot expect to master the complexities of the global market if you cannot master your own appetite at the breakfast table. The blessing is the training ground. It is where you prove your capacity to handle abundance. Do not skip this step. Do not rush into your day without building the vessel. Take the 60 seconds, acknowledge the source, elevate the sparks, and watch as the universe responds to your alignment with unprecedented financial flow. Furthermore, consider the cumulative effect of this practice over a lifetime. If you recite a blessing before every meal and every drink, you are interrupting your day with moments of spiritual clarity thousands of times a year. Each of these moments is a micro-correction to your trajectory. When you are veering towards greed, the blessing pulls you back to gratitude. When you are veering towards anxiety, the blessing pulls you back to trust. When you are veering towards arrogance, the blessing pulls you back to humility. Over decades, these thousands of micro-corrections compound, creating a character that is fundamentally aligned with the principles of wealth creation. You become a person who naturally attracts resources because you have proven through relentless consistency that you know how to honor them. The 60-second prayer is the ultimate long-term investment in your spiritual and financial infrastructure. And if you are truly serious about accelerating your journey and applying these principles at the highest level, for a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is where I unveil the complete Torah wealth system, the full architecture of ancient wisdom applied to modern financial transformation. The doors are closing soon. The link is in the comments. I look forward to seeing you inside and helping you build the wealth you were destined to create.